The efficacy of protected areas is dependent on the incorporation of interdisciplinary, participatory, and contextually relevant approaches. This is due to the interconnectedness of social, economic, and ecological components within socio-ecological systems. Shark Reef Marine Reserve in Fiji is an excellent example of how these approaches can be implemented in order to establish and manage a marine protected area from which there are social, economic, and environmental benefits. A private expat living in Fiji wanted to develop the model of a single dive operator providing a unique shark diving experience within a no-take area, whilst ensuring local stakeholders became the beneficiaries of this tourism development. The reason this vision came to fruition in 2004 is because interdisciplinary, participatory, and contextually appropriate approaches were implemented. An interdisciplinary approach is evident as a range of people from different backgrounds tied to both the social and ecological dimensions of this project are involved in the Shark Reef Marine Reserve. This includes the sole dive operator, Bangor Adventure Divers, the local villages of Wainyabia, Galoa, and Duba, and to a lesser extent, scientists, the Fijian government, and tourists. An individual participatory approach has been successful in other marine conservation ventures. For Shark Reef Marine Reserve, this participatory approach was implemented through intentionally minimizing the number of stakeholders so that it was possible to have close, long-term relationships with the local communities. Representatives from these communities were closely involved in the planning, implementation, and maintenance of Shark Reef Marine Reserve. For marine protected areas to be successful, their objectives need to align with their cultural, social, and environmental contexts. Marine protected area models cannot be successfully prescribed on large spatial or temporal scales, as contexts are not uniform across space and time. The cultural, social, and environmental context of Shark Reef Marine Reserve was carefully considered so as to develop a marine protected area that was cohesive with contextual values. The ocean and fishing is strongly linked to Fijian culture. Members of the Wainyabia, Galoa, and Duba villages respect sharks in honor of the god Dakuwaka, who is believed to take the form of a great shark. This belief deeply connects the local villages to their marine environment and drives their desire to protect and conserve it, whereby facilitating a culturally appropriate context for a marine conservation project. Additionally, traditional ecological knowledge assisted scientists in locating shark nursery grounds linked to Shark Reef Marine Reserve. This also highlights the value of interdisciplinary cohesion between science and local culture. The social context of marine protected areas is very important as it can determine attitudes towards conservation, which influences compliance and local support. Fiji has a traditional fishing ground governance system known as Kwali Kwali. Through this system, each village is responsible for their own fishing grounds, and if someone from a different village wishes to fish in a Kwali Kwali, written consent must be obtained. This traditional fishing ground management system has legal recognition and is protected by customary marine tenure agreement. This system provides an efficient route for private conservation, as the villages can be directly consulted for consent. If granted, rights are effective immediately and will eventually be endorsed by the Fijian government. This is exactly what happened with Shark Reef Marine Reserve. Due to high reliance on fishing for subsistence, alternative livelihoods or income streams are important when establishing a marine protected area that restricts fishing. For the 3 villages involved, each has some agriculture and receive direct remuneration from Bangor Adventure Divers to compensate for economic loss sustained from not being able to fish. This money is obtained from access fees charged to tourists and is transferred to a village bank account. Each village has a committee that decides how best to spend the money. The reserve has many benefits within the social context, which enhances support for the reserve and assists in its effective conservation. Each year, Bangor Adventure Divers trains and qualifies 1 member from each village as a dive master. They also sponsor local villages to receive government training to become fish wardens. This gives them governance powers to stop illegal activities within the reserve and increases the sense of stewardship amongst local communities. Projects Abroad is tied to Bangor Adventure Divers and conduct education programs within the local communities to raise awareness about conservation. Now that the Shark Reef Marine Reserve has been established for a while, spillover is occurring, providing economic benefit to the local villages and increasing social acceptance of the reserve. This positive social reception extends beyond the local community. In 2014, Shark Reef Marine Reserve became the first marine national park in Fiji. The environmental context was also considered prior to reserve establishment. The area was known to have a high abundance of sharks but to be overfished and in a degraded state. Scientific monitoring has been able to show ecological improvements in the area since reserve establishment. There is also an ongoing bullshark tagging project, which has led to increased understanding of the bullshark reproductive cycle and monitors the effects of provisioning on the sharks. These ecological benefits drive more tourists to the area, whereby increasing income for the local villagers. Finally, along with social support, there is also financial support. The Shark Foundation in Switzerland donated a boat to be used by the fish wardens and regularly fund scientific research, as does the Save Our Seas Foundation. In conclusion, Shark Reef Marine Reserve provides an inspirational example of how socially, economically, and ecologically beneficial a marine protected area can be when interdisciplinary, participatory, and contextually relevant approaches are taken.